Amigos and amigas, welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. I'm Wiso from Food Mex Nation. We're going to go just jump right in and get started and start with the big news for today. Obviously, it's questions around Mr. Jonathan Gonzalez picking Mexico over the United States. So the big question, what one word could you use to describe the news that Jonathan Gonzalez plans to file a switch to play with El Tri? So we'll go into Mr. Cesar in the San Diego area. How's it going, brother?
Doing well, man. I mean, it was kind of a calm Monday until that news came out. But the one word that comes to mind is just fascinating. Just it's just so much more interesting than just what's going on soccer wise. It's just within like a Mexican American identity, how American fans are reacting, how Mexican fans are reacting. I think it's just extremely interesting, just outside of the field, how people are reacting to this. So I think there's just so much to unpack here. And that's without even going into how he plays. I think we could easily talk about how intriguing, compelling the storyline is. It's some kid from California. He's like, just a Mexican American kid like us, but he's living the dream, because there's so many kids who live that dream. But he's actually doing it. He's actually going to have that chance. So, anyway, I'm already getting excited for him. But yeah, the one word is fascinating.
Naib, one word. How's it going in Houston?
Yeah. Wiso, buenas noches. Happy New Year to you, Wiso. Good talking to you. And buenas noches to Cesar, and buenas noches to the audience. I think forthcoming, no? I mean, I think to a certain extent, I kind of sensed it, that he might be picking Mexico because of how everything had turned out. It was... he had that history with the U.S. national team and the youth system and all that. But the fact that he was playing in Monterrey, the attention that Monterrey has been getting in the last years, I would say, starting in Monterrey is not easy for a Mexican player, let alone a young Mexican player. And I think after all the events that have occurred and, in his life, and kind of deciding what side to pick and which side he might have more gains in the future, he opted for the Mexican national team. So, good for Jonathan. I think it was a difficult decision, because of what everything entailed. But hopefully it's for the best for him and for the national team, of course.
Looking at the question that was asked in the Mexican Soccer Show's Twitter, usually we try to ask a question right before the show. Eugene Rapinski, our friend Golazo de Gringo, said smart. Soccer never sleeps. Jersey John, from an L3 perspective, I'm not sure it's his switch will pay dividends until after 2018. He could join Pizarro, Orbelin, Gutierrez, Montes, Alvarez as part of the core for next cycle. Soccer Nerd said, so Mexican. Brian, I don't know. Brian RMW. Well, he actually put it so Mexican. So
okay, that counts.
Our friend Brian RMW, a friend of the show, known for a long time. Justified. There you go, Justified. Nate, Zen, and he has a gif of we can't really say it on the air. Francisco Centeno, proud. This is a funny one right here. Antonio Rojas at Tony R248. Gio out. Kind of with it. Giovanni El Triguillo, hashtag triste. So I guess he said. Okay. Wait. That's what the U.S. Soccer is saying. I got it. Victor Herrera said Judas. Understandable. Expected. Well, it's been a fun day. And it's funny because we talked about Jesse Gonzalez in December, if you remember, Tom. And there's a clip out there. Hopefully we retweet what we were talking about an interview that he gave out, kind of looking to see if he was going to get called up by the men's national team. I got a tweet from a U.S. fan, a buddy of mine named George, who we have a rivalry back and forth. We've had it for many years. He sends out, the U.S. is so stupid. We can't go to the World Cup now. We can't get great players. This is a win for Mexico. I mean, he was mad. He was really angry. So it's kind of, that's great for the rivalry. At the same time, we're talking to Mexican Americans, and many people are very, very excited. But let's go ahead and just kind of dive into it. For those that don't know, and sometimes I think that we take for granted, maybe we're looking at the news headlines and watching Liga MX. Summarize the kid. What type of player is he? If you would say, obviously Monterrey playing in Liga MX, To you guys, I mean, is he the next, Pulisic in one sense, or are we looking at a kid that, well, all right, I mean, he's good, but it's better that he picked Mexico. Hopefully, he gets some playing time. So tell us a little bit about him.
When I think of him, I just think of someone who has a lot of stamina. I think of someone who provides a
Well,
lot
he's
of
young.
tackles. Yeah, he's very young. He's 18.
Correct.
When I was 18, yeah, I had plenty of stamina too. Now I get tired after jogging for 1 mile. Yeah, no, I think of someone who has a lot of stamina. I think of someone who's, kind of a key player in that counterattacking style from Monterrey. He's able to get the ball and distribute the ball very quickly, and I do think that his distribution is a key aspect for him. I think of someone who maybe he's not as aggressive as you would want from a traditional defensive midfielder. Maybe he isn't that excellent in the air, but I think that he's still someone that could be an asset for the Mexican national team. And I think that it'll be interesting to see how, we're all assuming that Osorio is going to give him that call up. It's going to be interesting to see in what position he plays him, because it wouldn't be surprising if he was to play him in a more attack-minded role. I know a lot of people might think that might be a little strange, but yeah, when I think of Jonathan Gonzalez, 18-year-old from Santa Rosa, California, I think of someone who just has a lot of stamina, someone with a lot of energy, and someone who's also a very good distributor, especially with his short passes.
Okay. Naive, do you see him as let's say there was nothing with Mexican American, he was Mexican. Do you see him as someone that would play for the three, or has he's got a long ways to go?
I think it's a work in progress. No, I think we have to be patient with him. I mean, I think it's a breakout season he had with Monterrey, but that doesn't legitimately mean that he's gonna be a big, top 10 caliber defensive midfielder in the world. If that happens, heck, it's a massive move for Mexico when you see it from that perspective. I mean, when I see him, I do see him that he could be more attack-minded midfielder, and I think that's how Osorio sees him actually.
Yeah.
More as in a 4-3-3, playing as a right midfielder, kind of competing against the Dueñas and the Jonathan Dos Santos directly for a national team spot, not necessarily disputing that central defensive midfield role, which seems to be Diego Reyes and Edson Alvarez at the moment. So, I mean, I do see that he has a good vision of forward. I think in the playoffs against Atlas, he had a good pass, I think, to Dorlan Pavon that led to an Aviles Hurtado's goal, and you could tell right away how good of a pass that was. The through pass was excellent, with the outside of his boot. So, I mean, I think it's a remarkable process in the sense that, there's a kid that won the Alianza, and that's how, that kind of got the attention of Monterrey, and they picked them up. And how difficult it is in Monterrey to be a starter, a Mexican starter. I said that at the beginning, because it's usually Hugo Gonzalez, the goalkeeper, and then Cesar Montes sometimes, and now Jonathan Gonzalez. It's in the mix, and he actually put Jesus Molina on the bench. Jesus Molina is an experienced Mexican defensive midfielder who won Liga MX titles with Santos in America. So we're not talking about any type of defensive midfielders. I think that's the remarkable part of Jonathan Gonzalez. I still see him in the early stages of his career.
Mm-hmm.
I think we already saw players like Orbelin, Chucky, who else? Rodolfo Pizarro in these sort of stages where they're starting and they're, kind of eating the whole world, and the whole world is in front of them. But I think we got to be patient with him. And heck, I think with Jonathan Gonzalez, based on how the story is going, the most probable thing that could happen is that after Monterrey, he's heading to Europe. Because I don't see Monterrey selling to another Liga MX club like it was the case with Orbelin and Rodolfo, for example.
The Pacto de Caballeros might have impacted this.
I don't know about that. I don't. In what sense that we saw?
Well, in the sense that he wasn't able to. No, I guess right. It was a tweet that somebody sent over that he wasn't able to go to some of the games or the call-ups that
that's one of the rumors. No, that for example he didn't get the treatment that he deserved. In the November friendly that the U.S. had against Portugal, it was said that Monterrey wanted to keep him because Monterrey was in the middle of an impeccable regular season. But then with that Soccer America interview, that it turned out that the U.S. didn't contacted him. I don't think that certain moment had to do a lot with the decision. I think the decision was a really long one, and it really increased. And I think the Mexico's chance of getting him increased when he started playing in Liga MX because he was getting the looks week in and week out by Osorio and by his coaching staff.
And you also heard people talk about that Turco was also talking to him about El Tri, and he is living in Mexico. You have someone like Cesar Montes right there who was also involved with El Tri. So I think that he's just kind of immersed himself in Mexican soccer culture within the past 4 years, and I think that helped lead to the decision. Of course, there's a big thing too, where just the U.S. men's national team is going to the World Cup. So of course you think about his future. So of course he's going to choose El Tri.
But why now? So for those that don't know the story, why all of a sudden today he says, okay, I'm going to pick Mexico. How did the story come out? I don't see any of them really rushing to sign him, or not sign him, but at least say, hey, commit to a side.
I think a lot of the reason why we're hearing about it now is because the U.S. men's national team recently released their call-up list for the January camp. Mexico is going to be releasing their roster later. So I think a lot of it is roster related, but maybe this is something that Jonathan himself, he didn't just realize this last night. Maybe he's been thinking about this for a few months. I don't think this was a decision that was made, very easily for him. It's difficult when you have that Mexican-American identity. And of course, he's been involved with the U.S. men's national team youth teams. I think he even captained one of them at one point. So, of course, he has those ties to the U.S., but it's difficult when you're thinking about your future. It's interesting when you think about how enticing it must have been when someone probably, and I'm guessing someone from the national team probably came up to him and told him that, more than likely, you have a decent chance of going to Russia. That's my guess. Of course, because Mexico can utilize a player like him. Mexico can have a young player like him step up and have him at least as a backup role for Russia 2018. So I don't think it was anything immediate. I think why we're hearing about it now is because of roster-related reasons for the January camp for the U.S. men's national team and also for El Tri's upcoming friendly. But I don't think it was a decision that was made overnight.
No, yeah, and then also the process. No, he has to change associations, kind of.
So did the story come out because of the changing association? Is that where the story came out?
I suppose.
I'm still trying to figure out where the story came out. Did he tweet out like Jesse Gonzalez?
It's an extensive process. Yeah, it's an extensive process, I suppose. No, to switch from one federation to the other, and now he's basically gonna stick with the Mexico national team for the rest of his career. They got the Bosnia game coming up, of course. And since that's a Liga MX-based squad, Jonathan has to be in it because those opportunities are going to be really minimal from now to the World Cup. Now, what Cesar says about the World Cup possibility and him entering into the fold of things, that in my opinion is still going to be like a long shot. But
you think it's a long shot? I think it's a decent chance. I think he has a decent chance.
Well, I don't know. I just the squad is so well made, Cesar, that I don't see him entering right away. I mean, I think some remarkable things have to happen. For example, Jonathan Dos Santos' level has to go really low. I would think in order for Jonathan Gonzalez to beat him in that race. And I think that this season has to be more, equally as consistent as the last one. But then again, it could have been something to entice him and to lure him to pick the Mexican side. But that could be a sort of thought to put on the table.
I mean, I'm kind of going through Twitter looking at the U.S. media, and it's child prodigy picks Mexico over the U.S. I mean, obviously anybody at 18 playing professional sports is amazing. But to me, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, a fresh of breath air. So glad we got Jonathan Gonzalez. I don't know. That was to me, right? In the same way that maybe Jesse Gonzalez, I haven't been. So please do not choose. I'm glad that the kid playing the professional level that he's playing has chosen Mexico. And it's kind of odd that you said a lot of people are saying, well, it's because the U.S. didn't make it to the World Cup. But I would think that if you would want playing time, you would go the U.S. route, right? There's more competition in Mexico. He might not even step foot with the El Tri jersey. It's not guaranteed unless there was something there that Osorio says, hey, we're watching you, which is what we kind of wanted for the other past Mexican Americans, if you remember, when we said hold off, that more like Jurgen Klinsmann was like, we're gonna call you, and we'll call you up right away to cap tie you. Right, and then you never saw them again. I go with my keeper, right? Oh my gosh, Leon's Yarbrough, who said he wanted to play in Mexico, and I would think, where is he now? And I'm not saying that he would play with El Tri, but he was number 8 in Piojo's standard, and how we see that. So The question to you guys now is this a bigger blow to the U.S. or a bigger gain for El Tri? And that's kind of what I want to hear from you guys.
I think it's a bigger blow to the U.S. men's national team. I mean, I would just talk about how excited I am to have him in El Tri. And I do, once again, I think he can have a consistent season. I think not even consistent, just have an extraordinary season. I have full faith that he could do very well. And I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to Russia 2018. But I mean,
you're calling him already in Russia?
I don't know. I don't think it's that crazy to think that he could potentially go to Russia. I'm not going to say.
I think there's something with you and like Monterrey youngsters that you just like. There's Cesar Montes who's already, playing for Barcelona for you. Now Jonathan Gonzalez.
No, I think I don't think it's that crazy. I'm not going to say he's going to start in Russia. I'm not going to say he's going to wear the captain's armband.
I don't think he's going to.
I think there's a decent chance. But anyway, we're talking about I think it's a bigger loss for the U.S. men's national because I mean up until a couple weeks ago, all signs pointed that he was going to play with the U.S. men's national team. This kind of came as a little bit of a shock to a lot of us. So I think just because of how close it looked like he was going to join the U.S. and just that ties he's had when he was playing with the youth national team, I kind of assumed, and I think we all kind of assumed that he was going to be playing with that side. So I think it's more of a loss to the U.S., especially with how much the whole program is struggling right now for the men's side.
It's interesting to see everybody's kind of point of view. Naive, you see him in Russia?
No, I don't. I mean, if I have to put my hands on fire right now and say, well, will he go? Will he not? I'll lean to he will not go, because I still kind of see other players probably ahead of him that have had more looks with us. So, I mean, this is another thing. Jonathan is barely entering the scheme of things with Osorio, and it has to be really remarkable. It has to surpass Edson Alvarez kind of remarkable story already, because Edson Alvarez a year ago wasn't even contemplated for a World Cup spot, but now he is, and that's the type of line that Jonathan Gonzalez has to follow. He has to come in the Bosnia game, has to come in the March games and make a certain impact in the team that makes you realize, well, hey, he is in front of Jonathan Dos Santos, he is in front of Jesus Dueñas, and if that happens, well, that we're talking about a prodigy here. We're talking about a good player that is going to be consistent in Mexico for the next 10 years. And if you look at it from that perspective, it is a bigger move for, it's a bigger gain for Mexico than, a bigger loss for the U.S. The U.S. has a bunch of players over there in Europe that are playing in Schalke and what else, Borussia Dortmund, Mönchengladbach. They have a good base of youngsters, but they're not, perhaps of Gonzalez's caliber that at such a young age. I mean, I think also it has to do with how we measure Liga MX when we compare it to the rest of the world, because we do have this tendency to say, well, of course, Liga MX is not like La Liga and Bundesliga and all these leagues, the Eredivisie and the Netherlands. I think Liga MX, it has growth in competitiveness. And in this show, we always talk about this lack of minutes that young Mexican footballers have. Well, actually, Jonathan Gonzalez is a proof of a youngster who made it in this type of system, and he's already on the cusp of, reaching new heights. And I think that's, when you look at it from that perspective, it's a bigger game for El Tri. And like Cesar says, I think if Jonathan Gonzalez reaches the World Cup, we're talking about a prodigy. We're talking about Andres Guardado type of level here. With Guardado went so young, because it's happening so quick. This is. We didn't expect Jonathan Gonzalez to be in this stage a year ago. I mean, few of us knew all the details about Jonathan Gonzalez.
Mm. Well, interesting to see and take. Young guy, take it easy. We don't want no Julian Green type of style. Where
Julian Green went to the World Cup.
Yeah, he scored, and it was more of a. And where is he now?
I have no idea where Julian Green
is. He was in the second Bayern Munich team.
Somewhere in Germany. He's somewhere in Germany.
Lost somewhere out there.
All right. Well, what's happening in the chat? You don't know. A lot of people get on and say they pretty much just bash us while we're on. I'm just kidding. Joel and the guy with name 23, everyone that's on right now, talking about definitely a bigger blow to the U.S. They're talking about size. These like Osorio's not going to call him because he's only 5'9". that's what they're going to call him. He's missing a few inches. So Osorio doesn't like anyone that's not 6 foot. So we'll see. we'll see where that goes.
I think one last interesting thing about him before we go to the next section is I thought was kind of interesting was that apparently when he was a kid, he was a Real Madrid and also Chivas fan growing up, and that he wanted to at first he wanted to join Chivas, but because it would have hurt his chances of continuing with the U.S. men's national team, he considered different options. And now it's kind of interesting.
Wait, if you go to Chivas, you can't be in the U.S. national team?
No, like you're not allowed to be doing that because of the whole policy with the team. But I think that it's kind of interesting that years later that now he's going to be trying to switch over to the Mexican national team when he could have gone to Chivas back in the day, because apparently, according to, I forgot who wrote this article from last summer, but they were saying the Alianza program that Chivas were interested in him, but he eventually turned them down.
Why would you turn down Chivas just to play for the U.S.? I don't know. That sounds a little fishy, because you don't have to make a decision right then. You can go, yep, I'm Mexican, I'll pay for Chivas, and then have there been Chivas players that played in the U.S.? That's for the U.S. national team. Dun dun dun. Thinking. All right, that's for the chat.
Well, Cendejas played for a while. Cendejas, who came from FC Dallas, and then he played in Chivas for a while. And I think right now he's in Zacatepec. I'm not sure the Cendejas story, but Cendejas, he had to stop playing for the U.S. because he came down to Chivas actually.
Yeah,
we'll see. Well, we kind of did an Edgar Castillo type of thing. He played in the youth level and then now switches teams. So I guess this is a win for Mexico. It usually doesn't happen. Usually the U.S. takes team. They rush to players so they can sign them, and we've seen that before. But that's what the rivalries are about. I think we're going to be hearing so much more of the Mexican Americans players choosing, and it comes down to it's their decision. I mean, we can be mad, we can be angry, we can be happy or whatever, but we'll never know what that's going on through their mind and the pressure that it is that they have to go through. For us, let's all of them be Mexican in the Mexican national team, but for them, it could be many more things. So we'll see. All right, let's switch gears to kind of this topic where I was looking over in our production team to really talk about it. And it's just kind of, a lot of people were kind of speculating that this might have happened, and we're going to talk about Chicharito situation. What's happening over there with his coach and Moyes? And I remember when Moyes came in, people were saying, "Oh, well, Moyes doesn't like him. What would happen in United? It's going to happen again." And we're like, "To calm down, all right? This is a professional. He's not going to hold any grudges." But then, not because of that, we're starting to see that Chicharito's just kind of left out there. No balls getting to him. He's kind of getting bored. It's just not having the great season that we thought could have. So what's happening, Cesar? You're always our Mexicans abroad experts. Chicharito with the current form is lacking. What do you most attribute this to? Moyes, tactical approach, Chich, playing time, girlfriend? I don't know.
Did you consider the girlfriend situation? No, I think there are a couple of things. I think Chicharito had an injury, during the winter. I think it was in November, December. And when he returned, David Moyes was already in charge. He already took over for West Ham, and he was kind of already turning things around for the team. So I think by the time that Chicharito was healthy enough to come back at the starting 11, I think Moyes kind of recognized that maybe he didn't need him in the starting 11. I do think Chicharito is worthy of being in that starting 11 for West Ham, but things have been, unfortunate for Chicharito, things have been okay for the team. I guess when you consider how badly their start was without Chicharito in the 11. Chicharito did get the start in their last two games. He got a start and a draw in the FA Cup. He got a start in the draw against Tottenham in the league. But it's just with the style of play, it just doesn't work for Chicharito. And I think if anybody who's watched West Ham play, it doesn't suit him. And I think I forget if it was an FA Cup match or the Tottenham game where Chicharito was essentially the lone striker. He didn't really get much distribution going forward. So I think that injury hurt him a little bit. Moyes is clearly not a fan of Chicharito, and it's just I don't know. It's been very disappointing to see, especially since you do want him going into the World Cup with a little bit of a good form.
Naib, right before the World Cup, we want our strikers. We want all the players. And I was looking like these Mexicans abroad that are out there. You're looking at the Moreno situation, the Portri guys. Other than Chucky having a great year, it's Chicharito's always had some minutes and he's scoring, especially early with the Hammers. What's going on?
No, I think the situation with Chicharito is beginning to get really, this high alert type of deal,
Yeah.
because ever since last season, even with Bayer Leverkusen, there was a lot of ups and downs. Kind of, it was a roller coaster ride the whole season. There was very few times where you saw some type of consistency. And of course, when you compare the style that Bayer Leverkusen kind of play to what West Ham plays, no, Bayer Leverkusen at least was more possession based, and the boss would get to Chicharo somewhere or the other. With West Ham, it's different because it's so direct style that the options will be very, very, very scarce. Even
Yeah.
in games they end up winning, it's just two shots on goal, and one of them goes in, and voila, you win the match because you play relegated on the back and you manage to defend well. The goalkeeper has a good game. West Ham is the type of team where the goalkeeper is going to shine most of the time. That's not a team that's gonna. It's not gonna be. It's not gonna be the striker shining.
Go Ochoa.
Ochoa could have in the Hammers with the West Ham, but here with Chicharo, I mean, I think the decision to go to West Ham was really risky.
Yeah.
When he opted to go there, the notion that he knows England, he played in the Premier League, he succeeded at Manchester United. But wait a second, this is Manchester United, not West Ham United. I mean, you're getting the Uniteds mixed up. West Ham is battling the bottom of the table. Manchester's battling the high part of the table. It's different stories, and the culture is different, the atmosphere is different. But that's this reality right now. I think, in my opinion, we're kind of seeing a descent in Chicharito's career.
Yeah.
It started off amazing, and now it's slowly descending down. And I don't know where it goes from here. Does it go back to Chivas because he's at an age where he can go back to Chivas and win championships with Chivas, or he's in an age that he can accept an MLS offer and be rich like Giovanni and Carlos Vela? But I think, or he can stay in Europe and go somewhere else. But he's entering that part of his career where I think he has to make a decision that really sparks a smile on his face, and at least has some type of consistency, because right now in West Ham he's not having consistency.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing Chicharito or Chicharito is bad. I mean, there's no in between with Chicharito. I mean, and that's how it is. You either, oh my gosh, he's a great for what he's done with Mexico, what he's done in Real Madrid, in Manchester United, and it comes down. Let's say if he goes to United, is he that super sub? That's his title for his permanent super sub for large teams. He needs to have people feed him the balls, and when the balls are fed to him, he scores. That's Chicharito, and we've known that from the very beginning of him. So he's going to struggle in teams that do not bring the ball forward. Now you could, and a lot of people say, well, you put anyone up front with Real Madrid or Manchester United, they're going to score. No, because he took people's spots away. I think in Manchester United, he showed he was the best striker with Rooney. In Real Madrid, I mean, look at the competition, but he did score some important goals.
Yeah, I would say 2 or 3 years ago it'd be. I would say something entirely different. But now, if he was to go back to Real Madrid, if he was to go back to Manchester United, he'd be a sub. He would be that super sub. That's just the truth.
No one ever said. I mean, I don't know if he's gonna be the number one striker in those types of teams, and that's why he went down. When he was in Bayer Leverkusen scoring goals, and I feel like maybe that's that type of caliber and that type of league, it suits him well. And I wouldn't want him just to go MLS just yet. And a lot of people are saying LAFC or another one of those teams. Keep fighting. I think he's still got a few years in top leagues before he goes down that route. Or it's time to return the Mexicans from Europe that went all their careers and retire in Mexico. Chivas brings Chicharito right now, or a team in Mexico. I wouldn't say it's a fracaso, especially what Chicharito has done already. But it's interesting to see that, again, right before the World Cup, who is our number one striker. And still, I mean, we'll see what Osorio brings up, but would you still line up Chicharito right now in the starting 11?
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately,
you have to.
I think you would give him that one chance in that. Let's say the World Cup starts tomorrow, and if he were to struggle in that first game, then you bring Raul Jimenez in the second one. But I think you still give him a chance. I would still give him a chance.
No, he's kind of won that right, no? I think he deserves a shot to be the starter. Unfortunately, right now with the situation at his club is not the best. But like they say, strikers, son de rachas. No, they got good streaks and bad streaks. Right now, Chicharo's going through a really bad one, and it's not just because of him. It's because the coach that he has doesn't kind of like him. So that complicates a little bit the things. So now, if he can get on a good streak and arrive in that form to the World Cup, I think everyone will be happy, and definitely Osorio, because Osorio, no matter what happens with Chicharo, he has a lot of confidence in him, and that's how Mexico's going to play it out in the World Cup for with many of the players, perhaps players that are not having the best of seasons are going to ride to the World Cup with very little playing time under their belt, and they have to step it up in the World Cup.
I think our buddy Eugene just asked a question in the chat, which is it better to sit on the bench in England or get minutes in MLS? And I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, I mean, if it's a permanent bench writing, right? If he's not playing, then yeah, minutes anywhere before we get to the World Cup.
Yeah.
But then somebody did write after that the bench is better because they actually train over there, which is a little hard.
Yeah, I know you can make the argument that he's still training in England as opposed to training in the United States. But
you need minutes.
I don't know. That's a tough question. I don't know about that one. I'm leaning towards
the rhythm. You need that. You can train in that case. Forget being and playing in leagues and just hire the best trainers and don't ever play that game rhythm. It's like, let's just hire the most amazing trainers and we'll just have national team players never play. But no, we need our players playing, regardless if it's in maybe laugh in MLS. But I'll pick the MLS just because you're actually if they told me, hey, Chicharito's never going to play a game again in the EPL, then or he can only play MLS. Let's do it.
Send him to Colorado Rapids,
wherever.
Houston Dynamo.
There you go. Send him to Houston. There you go. He could be like a 4-4-2. Him and Kubo.
You remember when Kubo was supposed to replace Cheech and well, he did replace him in Chivas, and they were saying they're going to be the next Chicharito. That'd be good. Good duo up top. We'll see what happens. Like I said, you give Chicharito some time, and you give a team that gives him the ball up front. He knows what to do with it, and we've seen the teams that struggled. Moya's team when he came in, he struggled. It wasn't like everyone was doing amazing and Chicharito was struggling with Moyes. Moyes took that team. Where did it go? Right, and we've seen that the teams that struggle are where he's not getting the ball. So something needs to happen. So he's a striker. He needs to have the ball, and if it's not happening when his teams stink, it's not his fault. We'll see where it goes. All right, let's switch over to Liga MX with America. Naive, you are not in La Ciudad de Mexico, but you stay current to all the news. What's happening with America? Why do we devote a whole section? These Americanistas are happy today in the news of something to do with Nuevo León.
No, I think they've been quite busy in this off season. No, I think for the most part the off season in the winter is not that easy to make the deals, but they already have two. They got two main ones, I would say. Jeremy Menez and Andres Ibargüen. Andres Ibargüen coming from Racing in Argentina, and Menez coming actually from Turkey, where he rarely played. But these are two interesting signings. It's a good letter of intent for the Clausura, getting two top signings to boost the attack. It looks like Silvio Romero will be going out from America in the coming hours. So I think that kind of sort of, shortens a little bit the attacking legion that Piojo Herrera now has. But with the signings that came from Cholos, and I know Cesar followed those three closely, the three players that came from Cholos, the one that has been really interesting in the last 2 weeks is Henry Martin. And Henry Martin scored the only goal yesterday against Querétaro, the winning goal. It was a good goal as well, good reception, good shot to the angle there that Thiago Volpi couldn't stop. Henry Martin here, he's starting a good association with Oribe Peralta now. With Ibargüen coming in and also Menez, there's this doubt that perhaps one of those two is going to take Martin's place in the lineup. And it would be really unfortunate for Martin, because in my opinion, I think Martin, you need those type of players for El Tri, a Mexican striker that is playing well, that can kind of play a little bit lean towards the wing to give more space to Peralta in the center. I think he understands that, and I think a good workhorse in that sense. But with these two signings, Ibarwen and Menes, to go back to the beginning, I mean, they're a good letter of intent for America. They're signings that kind of suggests that America wants to compete against Monterrey and Tigres, and there's still potentially a possibility to bring another striker in. The one that everyone seems to want in the camp is Luke de Jong, but it seems that PSV is not going to let him go, and that means that they need to go to the plan B and plan C, which could potentially still be in Europe, a player coming from a European league to Mexico, which would be great for America to add more kind of suspense to who might be the winner at the end of the season.
I think when you look at those newcomers, I mean, Martin already got the start. Joe Corona got the start. Aguilera got the start. I think that I question whether, I mean, Naib, you talked about it a little bit there, but I question whether Martin and Joe can hold on to their starting spots. I think with Joe, I mean, Guido Rodriguez wasn't available. I know Guido has played with Joe in the past, but you could also have someone with Edson Alvarez who could potentially play a defensive midfield position as well. I think when you look at Martin, I mean, you already talked about a player like Ibarra Mene. I mean, it looked like with the way that Martin was playing with Oribe, it was Martin was almost like I'm not gonna say like an actual left winger, but he was playing on the left hand side of the field. That's what I saw. So when I see some of those newcomers, I mean, just Ibarwin, for example, I'm not gonna say Ibarwin's gonna be a starter, but you could see him pushing Martin out. And I think with Joe, it's gonna be difficult because I do think that it looked like he was kind of playing that defensive midfield position. It looked like he was a defensive midfielder for America, and I just immediately think that that's not what traditionally Joe is best at. I think is best a little bit more when he's attack minded. So I think Guido Rodriguez will be playing in that spot. So I think that's my big question, is whether those two can hold on to the spots. I do think Aguilera, just because I have some questions about America's back line. Although I will say that Carlos Vargas playing as a left back, that was pretty cool to see. I like that, but I do wonder whether Joe and Martin can hold on to those starting spots.
Yeah, there's a lot of talks about the foreigners that are coming into America, but I think one of the things that have to be highlighted a lot is that you need a Mexican club, in order to be successful, needs a good Mexican base, and Tigres has had one. Even though it's not the showy one, but to have Hugo Ayala, to have Torres Nilo, to have Chaca, to have Dueñas, to have Aquino, that has been a really important core for Tigres' success. And that's something that Piojo wants to replicate with America. And I think Carlos Vargas right now, with this whole situation that Alanis is living, is a big winner, because the guy can play as a left back, he can play as a center back, and that's a big win for when it comes to probable players that could potentially just sneak into the final World Cup roster. I think Vargas is one of them because he unites a lot of characteristics that Osorio likes. Because Osorio likes the left marker. He doesn't like the left back, the left marker. And Vargas is a perfect example of a left marker, actually.
Yeah, that's another former Tijuana player as well.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting to see what America is doing. And yeah, you expected at least more names. And do you guys like this? What Tigres has done in trying to bring money in and trying to bring better players into the league, obviously making better players, which we can go back and forth with, will that make Mexicans players? But it looks like, finding those types of players, which we used to always, I don't know, Naive and Cesar, if you remember, these promotores selling us these players that were really no good. And it looks like at least that's changing a little bit in the narrative, the fact that players that are coming in and doing well at the league. I mean, and you've seen what Tigres is doing, but interesting to see America, which already on the chat, people were, why are you giving so much time to America? Guys, calm down. I mean, it's
like 7 minutes.
7 minutes. It's mostly Chivas fans who said they're glad they passed on Henry Martin. The guy named Twitter, America's doing it wrong. The Liga MX is supposed to send players to PSV, not buy from them. I thought that was pretty funny. We'll give you that. But interested to see. Hey, I even though I'm not an America fan, when America has a good team, I feel like, the competition, the fans that they bring in, Chivas and America always have to be in the top form. I know Tigres and Monterrey and all those and Cruz Azul, but I always feel like those two teams have to be up there. Those are the two biggest teams in Mexico. Many people argue.
Regardless of who you root for, I think it's good for the league. I think it's good to have those players like Benet coming in, and like I think it's excellent. I think it's very good. It helps the notoriety of the league as well. So I'm a fan of it.
Rumors of other people. I saw something in Tigres trying to bring other Frenchmen into Tigres. Did anybody see any big names?
Yeah. There was this rumor early in the morning about Samir Nasri arriving to Tigres, but then I think Tuca spoke today, and he sort of just threw it down and said it's not happening. That he has to sort of start focusing on the youth teams because next season, the 2011 now requires them to put a 20-year-old on the field. So,
Will Espericueta come back?
It might actually happen. I don't know if he makes the 2011, though. He already surpassed
he's already 27.
Espericueta's like 34 now, right? Like, I mean, it feels like we've been talking about it for a while.
Thank you for all those championships, but threw away young players.
We talk a lot about Tigres, Monterrey, and America making the moves, but when, for example, León brought in Mauro Boselli, in my opinion, I think that was a big move. Because Boselli, look how big of an impact he made in León to the point of winning a bicampeonato. I mean, I think people think that happened a long time ago, but that actually happened a couple, literally like 4 or 5 years ago. And look at the history that Boselli has been able to do there.
Dude, look at that goal he scored over the weekend too. My God, man, that was awesome. Just like the confidence to score a goal like that.
I mean, when you look at what other great foreign players are playing in the league right now that you might not have known before they came into Liga MX and make Liga MX better.
What? That's quite a question right there. Was that a rhetorical question, or you?
You think of Boselli, but what other?
Well, America likes talking a lot about Zamorano and Piojo Lopez, for example.
Well, yeah, no, I'm talking currently playing, I guess.
Yeah, currently playing.
My bad. Well, we'll see. That's a question for all you guys at the chat, but we'll go. Any other news as far as trades or anything coming in that we should know about for Liga MX or looking out there? Like, I mean, I saw some Tigres. It's interesting to see. I'm wondering if any Chile players are going to come to the Liga MX. I mean, that's usually once a year.
Rumor that I just briefly saw. I still have to look at it again, but Brian Reese to León.
Really?
That's a rumor. Whoa. Brian Reese would be a huge signing.
That'd be he just scored.
Yeah.
This weekend he just scored for Sporting. There's no way he's going to León. He's scoring and he's playing in Portugal.
I mean, he's past his prime.
That'd be amazing.
Past his prime now, so I guess that.
He's still scoring. I don't know if I remember. I was actually just changing channels and I was watching.
Yeah, and I don't know how, because it's been a crazy day in that idea too. Because the weekend a lot of talk about Cubo Torres actually going to Veracruz, and there was kind of legitimate, kind of confirmation that it might go through. And now, just several hours ago, another report came out that it just turned down. That the salary was too high and whatnot. So at the moment, Cuba is not moving from the Dynamo, but there was interest, legitimate interest from Veracruz. In my opinion, it's a good decision that he's not leaving the Dynamo. I mean, going to Veracruz is kind of becoming Chuletita 2.0. I mean,
MLS or Veracruz?
Anywhere in Major League Soccer instead of Veracruz.
The story from Brian Reese that comes out of Costa Rica with he only has 6 months in his contract, and it looks like the president of León was interested in a person like Brian Reese. So I don't see it being concrete. He's scoring goals in there, but if that comes in, I think that'd be a huge signing. Brian Reese is still a good player.
Yeah, the World Cup is ahead. I mean, good preparation.
We'll see. We'll see how that goes. I think. I'd be down. Costa Rica's going to León. If you remember, there's a few more. There's a coach, the guy that scored against us in 2011. I'm forgetting.
Chope or Medford?
Medford, yeah, not Medford. I think the coach, La Esmeraldas. Los Esmeraldas. All right. Well, let's talk about Liga MX. Jornada 1. It feels like that very first week. You're after Christmas. Kind of. Were you ready for it? Come up so quick. Muchos de ustedes celebrando Día de los Reyes. It took me a week to kind of get started with everything, with work, with looking at everything. But overall, Liga MX disappoint. Good, bad. What do you guys think?
I mean, that first game was incredible, man. Just to see Puebla getting that 2-1 win over Tigres. I think that was one of the shock results of the season. We got it in the first game of the season. It was kind of funny because we were talking about that. I don't know if it was in the last show or the show before this, how we were a little worried, just like, oh, like Monterrey and Tigres, are they just kind of like going to take over? And like, it's not nearly going to be as like exciting or unpredictable. But then you have Puebla, you know, getting a 2-1 win over them. And it should have been 3-1. And if we would have had goal line technology, who knows? Maybe that ball did cross, and now Guzman didn't stop it. I mean, it could have been 4-1 even without that opportunity. So that's just the thing that stands out to me the most from week one, was just that great game.
It's fashion though. Haven't we seen that before with Tigres? Kind of like after a championship,
they'll probably
kind of still party.
Yeah, they'll probably make the playoffs anyways. But it was just cool to see.
Maybe. What are the big stories come out of this weekend?
No, what I liked was that, for example, players like Lalo Lopez, Eduardo Lalo Lopez.
We're calling him Lalo now?
We're not calling him Chofis anymore. I think he doesn't like it.
Oh, no more Chofis. It's Lalo.
It's Lalo. Lalo scored.
He's
Henry Martin scored. Who else? Gallardo scored.
Gallardo did score, yeah.
Guys, I'm actually
Alexis Vega scored.
I'm pretty surprised.
Young Mexican players.
Yeah.
I'm pretty surprised we're still talking about Chofis, Lalo Herrera. Like, I thought it was going to be like a fad, and that's it. And I'm really surprised it's still in January 2018.
He does step it up. I mean, supposedly he trained with.
Wait for him in the World Cup.
With Canelo's trainer. He did preseason with Canelo's trainer.
He does look healthier, I will say. He looks a little bit skinnier.
Yeah.
Wait, the guys that train Canelo are training Chofis?
Yeah, he's taking it serious now.
Not Chofis.
Lalo.
Sorry,
Lalo.
Is he going to be... Man, I guess that's cool.
I would be surprised if he has a good season. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
It'll be a long time coming. I mean, we're talking about a player that Matias Almeida trusted from day one, basically. I mean, he was about to leave the club and everything, and then he kept him, took him by the arm, and look, we're now in 2018, and imagine Lalo making a move for the national team.
Diego Lainez or Lalo Herrera, who makes it to the national team first?
Lalo Herrera.
Lalo Lopez.
Sorry, Lalo Lopez. Lalo Lopez.
Lalo Herrera's, I don't know what he's doing in Scotland right now.
My bad, sorry. Lalo Lopez or Diego Lainez, who do you take national team first?
Chofis/Lalo.
Bum, bum, bum.
Maybe I should just mix Chofis and Lalo, call him like Cholo or something.
The thing with Linus is that it's pretty concerning, his situation, because he actually played with the U20s.
Yeah, he got relegated. Piojo relegated this third wonder kid.
It's because there's no space in the squad right now anymore. That's the thing. The attackers.
Oh, man. Bringing in the foreigners, no space for Diego. We'll see where it's at. All right. Any other news stories? Anything else that you?
I mean, of course. I think we got to talk about Morelia getting the 1-1 draw against the Rayados. I mean, it was a little bit of a questionable penalty call, but of course, the big talking point, and Tom brought it up in an article recently for ESPN, is the fact that Rayados and Tigres didn't start week one with a win. I mean, you could make the argument that they had a lack of a preseason. You could really say that with Rayados, who took part in the Copa MX final in late December. But I think that is worth bringing up, is the fact that both the teams weren't able to get a victory. And I know that Rayados maybe got a little unlucky, but of course, once again, the Tigres situation is just it's a little worrisome. But they're still going to make the playoffs.
It was almost like expected too. As Monterrey and Tigres kind of losing, we're like, tying and a loss, and all right, it's the season that they had starting a little bit earlier and during the weekend. So. All right. Well, week 2 of the Clausura, Morelia Puebla. It's the game of the week. Morelia getting that tie. Puebla getting the win. I mean, that's got to be it, right? Let's see if these guys are for reals.
Are you sure it's not Tijuana Necaxa? Because I'm not sure if I'm really looking forward to that.
Puebla just beat the Liga MX champions. Morelia tied the subcampeón. It's made for TV drama right there. On what happens. Tijuana Necaxa on Friday. On Saturday, you'll have América versus Pachuca, Lobos, Querétaro, Tigres, Santos, León, Toluca, Guadalajara versus Cruz Azul. We're seeing some big teams, not clásicos, but the América Pachuca and Guadalajara Cruz Azul should be good games. Pumas Atlas on Sunday and Veracruz Monterrey. What games stick out to you guys coming up in this?
No, I got three. I think well, actually four. I mean, I like the América Pachuca, the Tigre
Always good
Santos.
games.
The Tigre Santos. Santos coming a good win. What 4-2 against Lobos. 3 goals for Giannini. 3 assists for Osvaldo Martinez. So I think that was a great start for Santos. Then León Toluca is also good. Chivas Cruz Azul. The both Chivas and Cruz Azul got draws in the first week, but now it'll be interesting if Cruz Azul will be able to count with Gullit Peña. The return of Gullit.
The return of Gullit. Leaves Lalo Herrera out there.
And he left. Yeah, he did leave Lalo over there. Poor Lalo. But yeah, I think those 4 games stand out. With Pachuca, the loss against Pumas was pretty strange. I mean, they were leading 2-0. And then right away, there was a series of mistakes. The first goal was a mistake actually from Omar Gonzalez. Did a bad pass and allowed Pumas to create the chance. And Nicolas Castillo. Now, Nicolas Castillo, when he's healthy, I think he's probably the best striker, no, Liga MX. I mean, he's up there. You can say that maybe Ener Valencia but the way that he just gets the ball, he's gonna score. I mean, he's a really dangerous striker, that one, Nicolas Castillo.
Yeah, I think if there was another game worth bringing up from over the weekend that we haven't talked about yet, it would be that Pachuca 2-3 Pumas match. Just because it looked like kind of all Pachuca's Warriors were gone by the 40th minute. They had a great start. Honda, I thought, despite what happened in the second half, I thought Honda had a fantastic game. I think he scored the second one and he had a role in the first one. And then just Alustiza just came and he just kind of changed the game for Pumas. If you guys haven't had a chance, check out that goal. The Alustiza assist for Nico Castillo, because it's incredible, man. It's the best counter you'll see all weekend. But especially since everyone kind of has been counting out Pumas already. I think we discussed last week and we said that of the 4 big teams, we thought Pumas were probably going to be the worst one. But that was quite a result. And it says a lot for a team that was really, really, I'm not even saying really struggling is an understatement. It's just how bad they were last season. And for them to come back after having a 2-0, after Pachuca was up 2-0, and then they were able to get the 3-2 win, that says a lot about Pumas. So let's see what happens with them. Let's see if Alustiza, just because I thought he was incredible in that second half, if he can work well with Nico Castillo going forward.
Lots interesting. We'll see. Hopefully, jornada 2. Más goles. Looks like in what we normally see in the goal count, starting off early in the Apertura. All right, guys. Any other news? We're kind of ending a little off early. For those of you that are asking, I see Tom is traveling in Europe still, right?
He's fired.
Mr.
We kicked
Tom
him out.
Marshall?
Got a little annoying. Started asking for too much money.
It was 20. It was a 20-11 rule. We couldn't have any more foreigners, so we kicked Jason and Tom out. No. Jason couldn't join today. Tom is still traveling, so I'm sure he's getting back. So you're stuck with us, guys. But let's see what is happening with Patreon. If you're still, if for many years we have done this show since 20. What's the official start? 2010, 2011, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the podcast started, I'd say, somewhere between those 2 years. I just said 2010, 2011. Because I got in 2012.
Yeah, then we started doing the YouTube around 2013, 2014. So,
and then we joined forces.
Guys, we all joined forces.
And then we came together like crazy stuff.
Then we started Patreon last year at the end of November, guys. So if you're still not part, help us out. We are trying to make the show better. We're going to try to do big things for the World Cup. So continue to do that. But one of the ways that you get rewarded for being our patron is the Countdown of Russia podcast. What's new with that? Which is Tom, Cesar, and Naib to do a podcast on just El Tri stuff. Any updates or anything you guys be talking about for us to look at, guys?
Yeah, I think Naib's taking the week off, and it's just gonna be me and Tom. Tom's return to the Countdown to Russia podcast. And I was talking to Tom about it earlier today, and it's just gonna be all about Jonathan Gonzalez, all about what we're gonna dive deep into it, man. We're gonna dive deep. No. But I think it's not even about whether he's going to Russia. It's just all about what this means for.
This is Countdown to Russia.
It's all about it's all about what it means for the Mexican national, what it means for the U.S. men's national. There's we talked about at the very beginning. There's so much to open up about the Jonathan Gonzalez situation, which has nothing to do with his playing style. Has nothing to do with whether he could go to Russia. I think we got to talk about it. The people want to hear it. The people want to hear about Jonathan Gonzalez, whether we like it or not.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a listen, and I'm gonna be live tweeting you.
These guys are crazy. Why are we even part of the show?
Guys? No, guys, definitely hear it. It's an amazing podcast. We'll continue doing it and other extra cool stuff. So, we're gonna end a little early today, 4 minutes early. We'll see how it is. But Cesar Naive, thank you for jumping on. Thank you to everybody that was on the chat. Lots and lots of people that are watching live right now. Take it easy on the chat, guys. Don't start fighting. America and Chivas. See, the minute we give America like 7-10 minutes, Chivas fans get crazy, and then America fans start boasting, be like, ha ha ha. And it's like, calm down. It's almost, we're all
the same.
We're all the same, guys. We're all the same, right? Everybody cried at Coco. Okay, it's just how it is.
Dude, I cried like 4 times. It was. I knew I was gonna cry. I didn't realize I was gonna cry 4 times.
The ending got me, yo.
My mom calls me and she's like, "Hey, I want to go see Coco with you," and I'm like, "No." So I try to avoid it, and then she finally came to my house. She's like, "Hey, do you have anything to do for the next 4 hours?" I'm like, "No, let's go see Coco." I'm like, "Oh gosh." There we were. So yeah, guys. Sorry to bring that up, but anyways, all right, guys. Thank you so much for being part of the Mexican Soccer Show. Hope you like it. Tweet us, follow us. Make sure you hit subscribe somewhere down if you haven't already. And continue to be a part of this great podcast. Not the only, but I would say the longest running Mexican soccer podcast in English. We won't boast and say we're the best, but the longest running. We'll keep that entitled, but we'll continue to do that. Gracias, Naive, and gracias, Cesar. Take it away, Mr. Cesar, to close us out.
Yeah, once again, be sure to check out our Patreon page, which again is at patreon.com/The Mexican Soccer Show. I'm excited what we're going to be doing with Liga MX too. I'll be going to all the Xolos games and watching a lot of Liga MX games out there. So I'm excited to see what I'm going to upload, whether it be interviews, whether it be photos. I usually wouldn't post on Twitter. So I think it'll be kind of cool. And of course, let's see what happens to Liga MX season. It just started. And I think it's be fascinating to see a lot of young Mexicans, and not only Jonathan Gonzalez, but you talk about like Eric Gutierrez, Orbelin Pineda, Pizarro. These guys who don't have a spot guaranteed just yet. And
Lalo.
There we go, Lalo too. And I think this could be an incredible season to watch those young Mexicans who are all going to be fighting for some very, very precious spots for the national team. So it's going to be really, really fun to watch this Liga MX season.
Cool. All right, guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful Monday. We'll see you next Monday on another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show.
Chau.
Hasta la próxima.